It was the kind of scream that shakes your soul. It wasn't human. I'd never heard anything like it. I wish I hadn't. That night, the moon was hidden behind thick clouds. It made the whole village look darker, almost like it was holding its breath. I was on my way back from fetching water, my jug heavy on my head, when I first saw her. She was sitting by the fire, her face half lit, and something about her pulled me in. I had heard about her, the beautiful woman who had just married the village blacksmith. Some said she wasn't from our village, that she came from a place where the earth meets the sky. Others said she was just too beautiful to be human. They called her Yoruba Flame because of the way she danced. She moved like fire, alive, wild, and untouchable. But there was something in her eyes that night, something that didn't sit right. She was staring into the flames, and the way the fire reflected in her eyes, it was almost like they were burning too. I should have walked away. I should have just kept going, but I was curious. And curiosity is what gets people killed. As I got closer, she looked up at me, and I saw it. Her eyes were glowing, like embers deep in a dying fire. And then she spoke, her voice low, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. She told me about her love, about how she had given everything for him, even her soul. Her words were heavy, like they were meant to carry a warning, but I couldn't understand it then. I just stood there, listening, caught in her spell. She said she had made a deal. In exchange for his life, she promised something in return. But love, true love, is powerful and it comes with a price. The kind of love that burns so bright, it blinds you to the dangers around. She looked at me, her eyes glowing brighter now, and said, "The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long." Then, without warning, she stood up and walked straight into the fire. The flames didn't burn her. They seemed to welcome her, wrapping around her like a long-lost friend. But then she screamed. It was the scream that still haunts me. She was gone in seconds, consumed by the fire, leaving nothing behind but ash and the smell of burnt wood. I ran back to the village, shaking, too scared to tell anyone what I had seen. But the next day, the village blacksmith was found dead in his home. His body was cold, like he'd been dead for hours, but there were no marks on him, no sign of what killed him. And near his bed, in the ashes of what looked like a burnt-out candle, was a small, glowing ember. Just one, burning so bright it had to look at it. No one ever saw her again, but sometimes, on dark nights, people say they hear a whisper in the wind, warning lovers to beware of promises made in the dark. They say it's her, the Yoruba flame, forever burning, forever warning, her love still burning against all odds. I didn't tell anyone about what I had seen for a long time. Not even my closest friends. I mean, who would believe that a woman walked into a fire and vanished without a trace? They would think I was crazy, or worse, cursed. But the image of her eyes, those glowing embers, never left me. And the scream, God, that scream, it echoed in my mind whenever I closed my eyes. A few weeks later, things got stranger in the village. People started talking about seeing lights in the woods at night, strange flickering flames that would appear and then vanish as quickly as they came. Some said they were spirits, others thought it was just kids playing tricks. But deep down, I knew it was her. The Yoruba flame wasn't gone. Not really. One night, curiosity got the better of me again. I had to know what was going on. I had to see it for myself. So, I waited until everyone was asleep and then slipped out of my hut, heading towards the woods where the lights had been seen. The air was thick, heavy with a sense of something unnatural. My heart pounded in my chest as I got closer, but I couldn't turn back. When I reached the edge of the woods, I saw them, small flames, floating just above the ground. They weren't like normal fire. They were too bright, too pure, and they moved with purpose, like they were searching for something. Or someone. I followed them, deeper into the woods, my fear mixing with a strange sense of familiarity. The flames seemed to be leading me somewhere, and I couldn't stop myself from following. As I walked, I heard the whispers, faint and distant at first, but growing louder with each step. They were warning me, just like she had, telling me to turn back. But it was too late. I was in too deep. Finally, I reached a clearing. In the center was a large stone, blackened and cracked, as if it had been struck by lightning. The flames circled around it, growing brighter, more intense. And then, in the center of the stone, I saw it, her face. It was faint, like a reflection in water, but it was her, the Yoruba flame. Her eyes were still glowing, but now they were filled with something else. Desperation. She spoke, her voice echoing in the clearing, then she told me the truth. The deal she had made wasn't just for her husband's life. It was for something more. She had promised her soul to an ancient spirit, one that had been watching over the village for centuries. In return, she was given the power to protect her love, but at a terrible cost. She had to feed the flame to keep it burning, or it would consume her completely. But the spirit was greedy. It wanted more than just her soul. It wanted the souls of others, and now it was using her to get them. The flames in the woods weren't just lights. They were traps set by the spirit to lure people in. And once you got too close, there was no escape. I realized then that I was in danger. The flames were closing in, surrounding me, and I could feel their heat on my skin. I tried to run, but they were everywhere, blocking my path, forcing me closer to the stone. I could hear her voice, begging me to leave, to save myself, but it was too late. The spirit had me, just like it had her. In a last, desperate attempt, I grabbed a branch from the ground and swung it at the flames. To my surprise, they scattered, retreating back into the woods. The clearing grew dark, and the face on the stone faded away, her voice now just a faint whisper in the wind. I didn't waste any time. I ran faster than I ever had, not stopping until I was back in the safety of the village. I never went back to those woods. I didn't need to. The spirit still lurks there, feeding off the flames, waiting for the next curious soul to wander too close. And as for the Yoruba flame, she's still out there too, trapped between worlds, forever warning others about the dangers of love that burns too bright.